Okay, this podcast is going to show you how to use OpenVPN from your Windows machine to connect. I do not recommend this, mainly because, as I mentioned in the other podcast that you hopefully watched about connecting remotely, I don't really want to be supporting your Windows machines and all the spyware, antivirus, firewall programs you might have installed on it. This works well. I use it periodically, not very often. To connect if I happen to be sitting in front of the Windows machine, but I recommend you use the Linux VM if at all possible, because that will just make my life easier when things don't work for you. So anyway, first thing you need to do, download and install the Windows installer, either 32-bit or 62-bit, 64-bit, depending on which operating system you have for Windows. Here's the link. There's a link in D2L as well. Installing software on a Windows machine is not one of our objectives, but if you're a 200 level computer student, you should be able to manage that. Once you have installed the software, you will download these files, OpenVPN files to use if you disregard my recommendation to use Windows. You'll download that. That's a zip file. You will extract that zip file. You'll extract that zip file, and you'll have these 4 files. You want to copy these files, whatever, extract to specify folder. We need to get those files. So we'll extract those files. You want to extract them into, where do we want to extract them to? We want to extract them into C, program files, OpenVPN, config, and I already have a directory called CIS264, so you'll want to create a new directory or folder in there. I'll create a new one just for demonstration purposes, not in there, in the config directory. You'll create a new folder in there called, stop it. New folder. It's not what I want. Why is that not working? This thing's stupid. Anyway, you want to create a folder called something like CIS264 in the config directory and extract it to there. I don't know why the stupid tool is not working right. But anyway, you need to have a directory in the config folder called whatever you want with those files in it. So let's go look at those files. So here's mine. Here are the extra stupid folders that got created. Get rid of those. So here are the 4 files. These are needed for the VPN to work. So what you are going to do once you have those files in that place is start the VPN GUI. It says up here OpenVPN GUI. You will right click on it and run as administrator. Yes. Oh, it was already running. Let me go kill it. Exit. Right click, run as administrator. Yes. And you click run and you're like, hey, nothing's happening. Where's my beautiful GUI window? I need a beautiful GUI window. Well, it's right here. It's just a taskbar icon. At this point, assuming you put the files in the proper location, you should be able to connect. It'll say some stuff and it'll be connected. This is what it looks like when it connects. How do you know if it connected properly? Well, you should be able to now ping my server, or one of our servers, ping 192.168.240.102. That works, so you know you're connected to the VPN. We need to get another tool, MOBA XTerm Personal Edition. There's a link in D2L for this. This tool is a terminal emulator that has lots of features. Very easy to use. The main additional feature we need is the X server. So we don't really talk much about the X Windows system, but with X Windows you can run a GUI program on the server and have it display on some other machine. So we're going to run a program on the server and have it display back over here on our workstation. So you'll want to create a new session somehow. I already have one saved here. Oh, there, new session, SSH. We want to put the IP of my server 102. The username, you're going to log in as student. And the other thing we want to look at is to make sure that X11 forwarding is already enabled. So then that should be good. All you need to do is connect. You'll put in the password for student, which is in some file somewhere you should be able to find. I'm going to go ahead and just double click this one because I already have it working. So it asks you if he wants to save the password. You can save the password. That's fine. I don't care. Once you get connected, here I have my terminal window. The only file out there that we need to worry about is this start vertmanager.sh. What this is going to do is it's going to start the Vert Manager application that's going to allow us to install our Linux machine. We need the GUI console so that we can install our machine, because we need to look at the GUI prompts for when we're installing. So I just launched that program on the server, and it forwarded it back across my SSH connection. So you're going to get some view like this. Once you get this, what you're going to do is you're going to click on your machine name, which I haven't created yet. You're going to go to, if it's not running, you'll click Run, and then you'll click Open. And what that's going to do is that's going to display the console for you. So it's like you're sitting in front of the keyboard and monitor of that actual server. But you're really not. You're just viewing it across the network. So this is how you will go through and install your system. The system is already set up so that once you start it, it should start with the installation. So there's another podcast that go through the installation steps. This is just how you're going to connect to be able to do that installation. So once your system is installed, you also need, once your system is installed, you will only need to connect to the Vert Manager if you screw something up. And by screw something up, I mean you mess up the IP address, you lock yourself out where you can't SSH in, right? Because we're going to do some stuff to secure our server, and it's possible you're going to lock yourself out. So if you screw something up, you may need to connect to the Vert Manager to fix it. But once your server is installed, you don't need to use the Vert Manager again. So we'll kill that. But you will still need the VPN for testing things. So for example, I'm pretty sure I have a web server running on that machine I was just on. So we're going to need the VPN. Is that not working? No, that's the wrong machine. Alright, so let's start the Vert Manager again. Oh, what is wrong with this two Windows machine? Alright. So I'm actually going to go back to my console because I don't think I have the key to connect to my server handy. So I'm going to see if my web server is running. And no, there's no web server on this machine. So there's no web server on that machine, so that's why I couldn't connect to it. And I don't have my other machine running. So yeah, so in theory, once you get everything working, you won't need the Vert Manager anymore, but you will need to be able to connect to the VPN in order to get to the remote site. So one other thing I want to show you, I'm going to exit out. I'm going to disconnect and then exit. last semester I only had one person, or last time I did this, I only had one person that used the Windows, and that's because their machine wouldn't run the VM. So if you double click this, it will run. That ran. If you connect, it will connect. That connected. Oh great, it didn't fail like that didn't fail like it was supposed to. Don't you hate it when that happens? Oh well. If you do not run as administrator, it may not work. Apparently, it just worked for me. Probably because my user ID is an administrator. But if you don't have, if your user ID is not an administrator on your machine and you run it as a regular user, you will get an error that says, unable to add route or something like that. And if that happens, it's not going to work, and you need to run it as administrator. So that is that.